Good evening, everybody. It's the Pollinator, and it's Sunday evening. You know what? I should have got some water before I started this. But anyway, oh, my hair looks like George Jefferson. But I'm moving on up. Psych. No, it don't. I'm just kidding. I don't know why I'm such a playful mood tonight. I just finished my first professional photo shoot in my adulthood. I'm sure I had some when I was a child, but I don't remember them. I was always trying to hide from cameras when I was little because they were everywhere all the time. And I ended up photo shy, picture shy, and I had a great photo shoot. This guy was a great professional. He made me relax. We was laughing a lot, and it was just funny. Anyway, if you like the content of my videos, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you found it by accident because of the tags, the meta tags we put in these videos. If you knew what it took to make videos on YouTube, and you know what? I want one of those mics, those boom mics. I can't remember what that little piece is called. That's this round piece that you speak into. But I saw a really cool one on this woman's this woman's video, this trans woman, and I really want that. And I screen printed it and tried to do a Google search on that mic. You know what I ended up getting? A whole bunch of medical equipment. I said, no, this is a microphone. It's not some piece of, I guess it looked way out there, so it kept giving me pictures back of medical equipment. But this video is, I know I probably have it strewn out all over the place, but I wanted to talk about the struggle that I had from the time that I saw Chaz Bono on Dancing with the Stars until I stopped fighting and embraced who I've always been all of my life. But that struggle was interesting because I run across a lot of people who have the same struggle, and some of them are taking longer than others. Some of them completely reject the idea that they're trans, and others, they just, they'll come to me for advice and they'll end up embracing it. And I think fewer people do that than people who reject the idea for one reason or the other. And they usually tell me what that reason is, either after we've spoken or sometime later. A couple weeks ago, I had I was involved in a group a group of trans men where one of them needed a mentor, and I said something in there about that, not volunteering to be this person's mentor, but I can't remember what I said exactly. So what ended up happening is the gentleman that owned the group, which is not a group, it's a trans man organization. The gentleman that owned it said, "Why don't you be this young person's mentor?" And I said, "Nah, I don't want to. I'm already mentoring too many people. I don't want. I mentor people. I'm a father by proxy to, like a surrogate father to a lot of people around the world. I didn't need one more person to mentor, but I ended up saying yeah, and they hooked us together, and we had a few conversations, and I noticed as time went on, this person became more and more distant and just really didn't want to talk about anything. So I just let them go. I mean, I don't have time to be chasing these little knuckleheads around. If they want to come to the conclusion that, yeah, they are transgender, and what do I do? I can lead them to that pastor. But this little thing came back and said, I decided that I want to embrace the feminine part of me, and I'm not trans, and I don't want to be trans, and da-da-da-da. And I said, okay. I mean, what am I going to say? I'm not here to talk people into being transgender the way feminists, TERFs, and straight people who don't like us think that we're doing, that we're out here recruiting. No, we don't. This is not a recruitment type of thing. You can't become trans because somebody recruited you to become trans. And I don't care if you're a little kid, if you're a teenager, if you're a young adult, if you're middle aged, if you're an elder. This is not something you can recruit somebody into. That's like saying you can recruit somebody into being gay. No, you can't. Even if they have a couple of experiences with same sex couples, if they're straight, look, they're not going to stay. They're not going to switch over because somebody convinced them that it was something to do. That is not how sexuality works. That is not how this thing called gender identity works. It is just not. So anyway, so let me go back to after I saw Mr. Bono. I have stated in articles before that everything that I ever thought about myself, all the little questions that I had and the statements that I made and just all of the stuff that I did came rushing back to me. And I'm not kidding. Over probably the subsequent few weeks that after he got voted off the show, I was tripping in my head. I mean, I was like, oh my God, oh no, oh no. It wasn't a welcoming thought that I might be like him. So I managed to try to forget about it. Managed to. I never succeeded with that, but I tried, and I just pushed it out of my mind, and I made a move. I moved from Texas to Georgia, and in the midst of that, I thought I had forgotten about it, but it wasn't long after I landed here that I got a therapist at the VA. Now, I hadn't had a therapist for a very long time. A very long time. Even through the worst part of my depressions, I did not get a therapist. I saw psychiatrists. I checked myself into mental wards to prevent from doing something to myself, folks. Look, when you're in a depression, I used everything that I learned from Alcoholics Anonymous to prevent myself from getting to a place where there was no turning back, where you attempt something, harm on yourself. I knew from all of the training that I've gotten from AA to a whole bunch of other things that I did, that when you start going to that place, ask for help. And that's how I maintain my sanity through life. Is I come across as a strong person, somebody that other people can lean on, and there are times when I am not that strong person, that I need help sometimes too. And I scare the daylights out of the very people that I'm helping. They can't handle what I'm going through, and they end up just throwing slogans and shit at me, and just stuff that's not the type of thing. I talk to people. I don't just throw shit at them. I have a conversation with them about what they're going through. I don't just leave them hanging with a slogan. So anyway, where the hell was I? So I came to, where I live now, the state. And I got a therapist, and I immediately told that therapist that Now here I was thinking that I had forgotten all about this, but the first thing I said was I might be like Chaz Bono. I wasn't even willing to say that word, transgender. I wasn't. I didn't even say that to her. I just said I think I might be like him. And I had heard enough. When I first saw him, I misgendered him. I dead named him. I did all of those things that ignorant people do that haven't gotten Trans 101. Now, I didn't have to read a document that told me what Trans 101 is. I just quickly adopted that was a man, that is a man, and used their correct name, the name that they chose, and had to change legally. We go through a lot of shit to change our names, folks. It is not easy. So I'll get to that later. But so I told her, and she had this big old smile on her face, and she was excited that I said that. She immediately told me that she had patients that were transgender, and I looked at her like I just gave myself a death sentence. In my head, that's what I thought it was. Oh no, here I go again with some other big life altering change that I did not want to go through, and it was not exciting to me, and it sounded like a death sentence as I looked around, actually as I heard Mr. Bono talk about his struggle with it coming into this life, and that he was somewhat of an activist, and that the world was hating on transgender people. Now, I didn't see the totality of that, but I saw enough and knew enough about my experiences thinking that I was a lesbian and coming out as a lesbian. I got beat up. I got shunned by my family. I got just, and not everybody in my family, just certain people in my family, and I did not want to go through that again. So I thought it was a death sentence. And because she was excited and I was the opposite of that, I don't want to talk about it. Not if she was going to be all bubbly when I'm just struggling to come to terms with what I told her, what I said to her, that I did not mean to say out loud. I did not mean to tell her I thought I was like him. I meant to keep that a secret. I meant to keep that under wraps. I meant to, I didn't mean to tell her. And it was not the first time I had told on myself. In fact, I'm gonna play a clip in a minute of something that my cousin said, one of my cousins, and you're gonna see her when I was joining the military. Something that I said that I still to this day, it just shocks me that I said it because I don't remember saying it.
So, don't look at me right now, but let me put it like this. This is how I take it. When Renee was there, it was Ray who was speaking. So it was funny as hell to us because it wasn't that we were tripping off you. It was just you were so serious when you said it. It was like it really wasn't Renee. It was Ray speaking. So you were fighting your way out. That's how I look at it after all these years. You just was fighting to be you. And I'm glad you finally won the battle. Yes.
So that's what she said. Now, that's the first time most of you people are hearing my dead name being said out loud. But she was serious. I mean, she She wants me to get how she was thinking about it. That it wasn't a shock to her or my cousin, my other cousin. Both of them were standing there when I said that. And today it just shocks the shit out of me. It shocks me for that person that was, what, all of 18 years old or something like that. Those little things kept slipping out of my mouth. I told my mother I wanted a sex change when I didn't know what that was in 1970. Just little things that kept eking out about who I really was. And look, I was, like I said, I was 18 when I said that. And it took me until I was 58 years old to embrace it. And I think it was, oh man, my math is getting confused in my head. I think I was something like 52 or 54 when I saw Mr. Bono on that show, on Dancing with the Stars. And it took me a while after that, 4 years after that, to embrace it. I fought like hell, folks. And even when I finally was brave enough to have a conversation with my therapist about it, my therapy wasn't about that. My therapy was about the depression. And the depression wasn't about that either. That was about my life, losing track of my life, losing track of myself, almost dying, ending up homeless. I mean, there was a lot involved in why I became clinically depressed. And I went through that for 14 years. 14 years of that. So even when I finally had the courage to have a conversation with her about it and finally opened the door just a little bit, I still fought like hell. I still didn't want to embrace it. But I have been researching. I was researching a guide called The Hudson's Guide to FTM or something like that. It was a Hudson guide. That was the document. And you know what? It doesn't look like it did when I first picked it up. Now it looks terrible to me on the internet. I don't know what they did to it, but sorry, they changed the format and it doesn't look as pretty as it did when I was looking at it. So I researched it, and when I was satisfied that I'd researched it enough to take another step, to get on HRT, I told my PCP that I thought I was a man and I think I need to be on HRT. And she said, okay. And that's really all she said. I mean, she might have asked me a question or two, but it was no big deal to her. Because I think either she was reading the notes that my therapist was leaving, or she just knew. She just knew when I said that I was serious, and she saw it too. Now, throughout my life, other people saw it, and they would say things, and I would secretly gloat inside. There's something that people kept saying to me even before I started transitioning, which is that I somewhat remind them of Denzel Washington. Now, when I was socialized as a female, I didn't want them to know that was an ego boost to me. So I never said anything. I said, come on. I don't remind me of Denzel Washington, let alone how I remind these people of Denzel Washington. I don't know if it was the way that I look, and I think it's more the way that I am that reminds them of Mr. Washington. Because I just heard it a couple of weeks ago. So I keep reminding people of him, which is just amazing to me. That guy is the type of person that I look up to and that I admire. So after I chickened out of the appointment, I made the appointment. She made the appointment for me to get this endo doctor who is just one of the best. This guy is one of the physicians attached to WPATH, WPATH. I can't tell you exactly what it stands for right now. If I find a link or whatever, I'll put it in the description. But this guy was great, but I never met him in 2014. Because a week before, no, the day of that appointment, I decided not to go. I was too afraid. The things that I was reading, I couldn't piece. Since I wasn't talking to nobody, I didn't know anybody transgender or whatever. I didn't know a trans man. I didn't have anybody to ask questions to, so I would make assumptions about what I was reading and draw conclusions based on those assumptions. So I was scared to death of HRT, of testosterone. I was an elder. I didn't know what it was going to do to me. I kept thinking that it might do something dangerous. You know what? I didn't mean this thing to be so high. Gee whiz. Anyway, so I was concerned about that, and then I was also literally trying to find all of the surgeries that were botched, starting with top surgery. And you know what? At that time, I didn't even look at bottom surgery, because I looked at that and looked at the description of medioplasty and phalloplasty. I said, oh, no, I don't even want to see those pictures. At the time, I said that. But I was looking at all the botched top surgeries, and I said, if this is what I am, I don't want that. But I couldn't even get over the testosterone hurdle. So it took yet another year for me to fully embrace this and stop fighting it. At the beginning of 2015, I told this lady that I was talking to in Africa, because I figured, you know what, if she had a bad reaction to it, there's really no way she could hurt my life with it. And so I told her that I'm a man. And she said, oh, okay. And I was like, that's it? That's your only reaction? And she said, yeah. She said, why do you think I've been calling you daddy all these years? Ooh. But whenever she said it, we were usually corresponding in writing over Facebook or whatever. She was texting, I was typing, and she would call me daddy with an I. And I never put it together that she did that because she saw the man in me. And the man, she saw how dominant I was, how aggressive I was. She saw all that stuff. So it just didn't surprise her. It surprised me more than it surprised her that she didn't have any kind of reaction. But that whole year, I continued to think. I wasn't quite a man yet, but I knew I had to head in that direction somehow. And I still clung to the black lesbian community. By this time, I had stopped dating. I stopped dating people outside of my race for political reasons that I'm not going to get into right now. But it's strictly politics that I have the attitude that I have now about our sisters. I think they need us. They don't know they need us, but they need us. The whole black community is in turmoil because we are not doting on each other anymore. I'm old school, and so whoever I find has got to understand that I'm old school and that I won't tolerate a lot of the stuff that a lot of men tolerate with women. I won't do it. So anyway, I told her, and then I continued to live my life as a quote-unquote lesbian. I remember going to a party in a mansion and chasing this girl around the party and never saying anything to her. And I don't remember why. I was trying to come out of the depression, which started with me reducing the medication that I was on. I didn't know that stuff was hurting me. I thought it was supposed to be helping, and mostly it was making me even more depressed because I was on too many of them. And the VA is like that, man. They don't, when you have an illness or something's wrong or whatever, they throw medicine at it. They throw lots of medicine at people and have them all bloated. And oh, you should have seen the way I looked that year. I will never show anybody those pictures. But I do have a picture of me at that party. I don't remember who took it, but it's far enough away that you can't see exactly how I look. Or maybe you can see how I look. So I'll put a pre-T shot of me in here. So that's what I looked like at that party. And I left that party without talking to anybody. Actually, this woman sat down next to me and I talked to her for a while, but her girlfriend was there and she was having trouble with her girlfriend, and she brought her over there to talk to me, and then she kept talking to me and I kept looking at her, and meanwhile I'm watching the chick that I was chasing around that party. So I continued to try to live my life and dig my way out of the tail end of that depression, which wasn't the end. It was just the tail end of the most intense part of it. And then I met another lady while I was talking to the one in Africa. But see, the one in Africa, I wasn't in love with her until I was in love with her, which did happen in 2015. But I continued. I actually started dating at the beginning of 2015, even though I told the Nigerian that I was a man. I was not in a relationship with her. We were just friends. And so, but you know, for 4 years, the 4 years I had been talking to her, I talked to her for 3 years. I met her right after I came here. And there was nothing going on. I wouldn't let anything go on, even though she wanted very much to be with me. But I thought she was too young. We didn't seem as compatible as I would like, and I just wasn't going to go there. So I met this other lady online, and I told her straight up. I told her right off the bat that I was a trans man. And what was her reaction? Okay. I was like, oh no, it cannot be this easy. I don't think it's going to be this easy for everybody that I tell this to. But, you know, she had the same reaction as the one from Africa. Now, she was in stateside. I don't know what I was looking for. Well, that was like running up on I don't know, in the lesbian world, running up on a straight woman and not telling them that you're a lesbian. You can't be friends with people if they don't know who you are. I don't care how stealth you try to be. I'm talking to you, trans man. I don't care how stealth you are. There's something missing when you are ashamed of who you are. They don't know you really, so you've got them at arm's length and you're calling them your friends. No, they're not. They don't know who you are. That hiding it only goes so far before you have to come out to them. You just do. So I I told her, and then we developed a thing. But meanwhile, I finally told the one in Nigeria that I was in love with her, which she was like, I knew it. I'm like, I don't know how you knew it, and I didn't. I was not embracing that either. But when I did, she was very happy, and we tried to work on getting her here, but that wasn't working out. And meanwhile, I kept my eye on this other lady. Actually, the other lady saw... Okay, I don't want to tell that story. Why am I talking about that? This is about my pre-T struggle. Stay on topic, Ray. So I don't remember exactly what happened and when, that I finally stopped fighting it. And when I embraced it, when I embraced who and what I was, oh God, the relief that I felt. I still didn't know what was going to happen, but it gave me the courage to take that step, take one step. Now, before I took the HRT step, I changed my name. I found a name that I liked. I went onto a website of names. I knew what the letter I wanted to begin with, an R, and I was going to maintain my middle name, the name that you heard my cousin say. So I dropped one of the E's and said, okay, that's going to be my first name, to make it easier for my family. Now, I didn't realize when I did that later on I would regret it. And I actually Ray was my middle name. So anyway, I changed my name. That was step number one. Step number two was to get our HRT. Now, it wasn't difficult for me because the VA pays for our HRT. It provides it. And the fact that I'm disabled, service-connected disabled, got it so that I didn't have to pay for HRT. So it was kind of an easy step for me, where naturally, typically in the civilian world, boy, they are going through a lot of changes to get on this stuff. For the longest time, they made them be in therapy for a whole year and living as the gender you identify as before they could get on HRT, before they get that letter from a physician telling the pharmacy that they can begin their HRT. And that, my friends, is the struggle that I went through. It was very tormenting while I was going through it, because I kept not wanting to think about it, and then not wanting to think about it made me think about it all the time. It was like, oh, Jesus, no, I gotta let this go. One time my therapist asked me to talk about it, and I said, look, lady, and I was not being nice. I just said, look, doctor, I'll be a lesbian the rest of my life. I don't care. Now, I said this in the article, the Black History Month article on Autostraddle. But I was dead serious and upset that she wanted me to talk about it. And I told her I would be a lesbian the rest of my life. I do not care. I don't want to take any steps toward this, and I don't want to talk about it. And she said, whoa, hold on. Calm down. We don't have to talk about this. And I said, thanks. This lady, this doctor, was so kind and so gentle. Is exactly what I needed at the time, to walk me through that. And it took all my resistance for me to finally stop resisting, which is something that I learned back in Landmark in the early 1980s. Is resisting something. There was this exercise that the forum leader did about resisting, and how much energy it takes to resist. It takes a whole heck of a lot more energy to resist than to go with it. And I'm not talking about going with something stupid. I'm talking about going through something, resisting something that you really need to do. If there's that much resistance going on, you really need to do it. You really need to take that step towards yourself. Walk towards the fear. Don't try to keep running away from it, because it'll just keep tackling you. It'll just keep tackling you until you embrace it. But when I did, things became, I felt so much lighter and so much better, and the depression lifted. It lifted. I was so excited to be starting HRT that I couldn't wait. Meanwhile, I met that lady that I was talking to that lived in the United States, and I started HRT that same week. I met her on a Friday. I spent the weekend up there, and then I came back, and then that Friday I started on patches. And then the next day my voice dropped. I was so excited. Now my voice for a female has always been a little deep. And so when it dropped the next day that I had that patch on, I was like, oh, wow, this is amazing. And I don't hear my voice is deeper. I felt it in my larynx because, that's where you feel the bass when you're talking. And I felt it, and I actually kind of sort of heard it. But I more felt the bass in my throat because it thickens the red blood cells and it thickens the vocal cords. You can't feel that happening, but you can hear it. You can feel the boom. You can feel that. What else about my pre-T days? My anniversary that I have spoken about is the day that I started HRT. Now, it could have been a number of things. It could have been the day I changed my name. It could have been any of that stuff. Now, when I changed my name, I didn't change it legally until after I started HRT. Then I went through the process of changing it legally, which was a bitch because, I had to go through government changing of my name too because of my my military status. And that was crazy. It took 2 years to get my DD-214 changed. And within those 2 years, I changed my name again. Because that name that I had, the middle name that I changed to a male version and made my first name, that wasn't cutting it. Every time I went to the VA or was on the phone with somebody from the VA, they automatically assumed I was a female. So that name just wasn't cutting it. So I got rid of it altogether, which hurt my dad. I had to face a lot of things that I didn't know was going to happen, but I had a suspicion it was going to happen, which increased my fear and it increased my resisting embracing who I really am. I resisted that because I thought, God, as an elder, I got to go through a bunch of emotional trauma and this and that again. I said, I'm too old for this shit. That's what I was saying in my head. I'm just terribly too old for this shit. But no, you're never too old to begin again. And I've got other stories, like the fact that I own this damn house from being homeless. That it's never, ever too late in life to transform it, to start from ground zero again. From is that what they call it when those buildings in New York fell and they had to rebuild again? They called it ground zero. I have gone to ground zero several times in my life, and each time I crawled my way out. I crawled my way back. I rejoined the land of the living, and it is a whole different story to live versus just survive and hang in there with life, but to really make shit happen, to make things happen that you can be proud of, to make things happen that give you confidence, to make things happen that just causes a complete turnaround in your being and in your life. When your being changes, it makes it easy to change your life. You don't run from change. You don't run from miracles. You don't run from stuff that take you from A to Z and you get to skip a bunch of steps in between. You can't do that unless you're ambitious. You can't do that unless you have that it factor that makes you run at things instead of away from things. And that's pretty much what happened with regards to my transition, is that I ran straight at it instead of running from it. And when I ran straight at it, a lot of other things came along with it, which is going to be the topic of my next video, which is something that transgender people don't do. And but I'll talk about that later. In the meanwhile, I hope everybody had a great weekend. The weather finally let up here, so I went downtown and did this photo shoot, and I'm really excited to see what shots he came up with. I wore 2 different sets of clothing. I had to change in some taco place on a corner, and but he was really great. He made me laugh. He made me relax. I don't like cameras. I don't like cameras so much I went all the way to Switzerland and didn't take one picture. But I was only 15 and I was not concerned about taking pictures out there. I was in the moment. And every moment that I was there, I was in the moment. Didn't think of a camera. Silly me. So all I have is my memories. I don't have any pictures of that vacation. So I hope you guys have a great week. And the pollinator is out.